Our NBA insider, Shams Charania, what do you got?
George, this just in. Fred VanVleet, the Rockets' starting guard, their leader, he has suffered a torn ACL. This is a devastating blow, potentially season-ending injury for Fred VanVleet. He is out with a torn ACL. I'm told he suffered the injury clearly very recently here. I know he's been back working out at different points, was just named the president of the NBPA this offseason as well. But he has suffered a torn ACL for a team in Houston that expected to be one of the championship contenders this upcoming season. They just acquired Kevin Durant. They have Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun. This is a pretty deep, loaded team, but now they will be without their starting point guard, their veteran leader, potentially for the entire 2025-2026 NBA season.
Wow, that is devastating news. Bobby, the Rockets were the second favorite out of the West, according to ESPN Bet. What do you make of that?
It's devastating because one of the things to watch for Houston going into training camp was the thin point guard position here. And the player who I had an X factor was Reed Sheppard, last year's lottery pick as far as him coming off the bench. Now you're looking at it between Sheppard and Aaron Holiday, who they re-signed in the offseason. That's your backcourt there. There's a lot of pressure on this Rocket team that went all in this summer, going out and trading for Kevin Durant.
What do you think this means for KD now in his role there?
Point forward. You got to be creative right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited about Reed Sheppard. He didn't expect this opportunity. A lot of people are very, very high on him. Hey, he's going to have to get an opportunity right now. But there's still time. And Shams would know this better than me, that they could try to work some magic to bring another point guard in.
Yeah, I mean, Reed Sheppard did ball out in the G League, balled out at Summer League.
It's Reed Sheppard time. Fred VanVleet has been through so much in his career just to make it to this point. Undrafted. Yeah. He set all these records. He signed multiple of these massive deals. Yeah. Just signed a 2-year, $50 million deal. But
glad he got paid.
Fred VanVleet out the...
Well, one thing we do know that LeBron will be on the Lakers roster at the start of this season, of course. And I do think what they've done this offseason, when you're looking at the addition of DeAndre Ayton and certainly Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, they're in the conversation when we're talking about some of these top teams in the Western Conference. But here are some of the questions we're going into the season. Year 23 of LeBron. That is remarkable. The last time we saw him was that Game 5, limping off the court with that knee injury against Minnesota here. We talked about the newcomers integrating Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, and Jake LaRavia. The loss of Dorian Finney-Smith. Is there enough perimeter defense? And here's the big thing. Balancing the two timelines. Oof. You are a win-now team, but then you also have an eye out in 2026 and 27 when you have potential of $100 million of cap flexibility with Luka on that roster to build around him now. That's going to be the most challenging thing this year is the two-timeline approach, win now versus the future.
That's always tough. I feel like every time somebody's trying to go through these two timelines, it's a very delicate dance, to your point. Now, Shams, let me ask you this. LeBron in the last year of a contract at the moment, what determines his future?
I think just seeing how this year plays out, I mean, it's clear that he's not sure whether, does he have 1 year left? Does he have another season after that? So 2026, 2027. I did speak to his agent, Rich Paul, at Clutch Sports today, and he told me it's important not to worry about the future when it comes to LeBron James. Just appreciate the present and also maximizing his present. And that, obviously, that onus potentially falling on the Lakers and what team they put around him. But it's obvious. How does he feel about the Lakers going into the season as the year continues on? Can they be a contender moving forward? And I think the other thing that also sits here as well is Bryce James is going to start his freshman year at college. How does he look? How does he look as a prospect? How does he play into the 2026 NBA draft? So these are all things I think LeBron James is going to be open-minded about.
Ramon, let me ask you this, because the poll was basically LeBron's a Laker or LeBron retires. What did you make of that particular distinction?
Well, it's just because it's hard for him to go elsewhere. I mean, Bobby and I call you 7 times a week about how, if they did this, it's just hard for anyone to trade for a guy making $52 million. It's a lot of money. And even he would have to, ask for that. He would have to approve of that. And I think that we're in a position now where if he was going to do that, he's had opportunities, whether it be a couple years ago with the Warriors when they came calling, they expressed interest again this summer. the Cavs are on that list because we all know the heartstrings are there in Cleveland. But if they were going to do anything, it would probably have to be before the regular season even started because they're in the second apron. And so I think it's just hard to envision how he would go someplace else unless he asked for that. And Shams, to your point, it's based on how the Lakers do. If they're winning, if they're rolling, I think he blends in. If they struggle out of the gates or if they hit a rough spot, if somebody has an injury, then I think we have a lot of content to talk about in LA.
You think?
Well, I think the big question is where we are in January with this Lakers team. In a really deep Western Conference, that what happens if you're a 500 team and you're competing just to get into the play-in? Does that change as far as LeBron's mentality of competing for a championship? Because that, all signs would signal that you probably are not competing for a championship. And Ramona hit on a point there is, listen, once we get into the regular season, those teams that he potentially maybe had an eye on this offseason, whether it be Cleveland or Dallas, those teams don't come in play because of where they are financially.
The one thing that surprised me on this poll was that league insiders voted Nikola Jokic as the best player, and this wasn't the part. It was that he basically got every vote but one. Luka got one vote in that poll. So, look, I mean, the Joker is inevitable. He's like Thanos to me, okay? But were you surprised at how lopsided this was?
Well, I was surprised because then there's another question on there as far as who the MVP is, and Shea got 5 votes, and I think Jokic got 7.
Right.
So I'm thinking, like, well, wait a minute, how come Shea didn't make it onto this year? I am surprised with that. Certainly the disparity, not that Jokic is number 1, but that nobody else outside of
Giannis would like him.
outside of Luka was even on there.
Look, I covered that series with Denver and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it was a clash of the 2 MVP favorites, right? And Nikola Jokic asserted himself in that series to the point where when you saw them side by side, you saw how important Jokic was to his team, how much he was able to do, how he controlled the game, even on both sides of the ball. It's hard to argue that he's not the best player, and I think even the Thunder would tell you that was the toughest series that they had to get through. If not for Aaron Gordon having an injury in that last game, I don't know what would have happened there. But I am surprised. Giannis should get some votes in that vote. Shea should get some votes. But Giannis isn't. But Jokic is inevitable, as you said. He is that good.
Thanos. Shams, what do you think?
I mean, I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, how do you not give him more love? The year that he just had, MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. His own shoe, NBA 2K. I mean, there's a lot of things you can put in there to say why he might be the best player right now in the world. The disparity to me is what catches me off guard.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm with you guys. Like, I can make a case for a lot of those guys that you put in there. I just think that the Joker is at the peak of his powers right now, and I think guys around the league, coaches, players, who have to deal with him on a day in and day out basis, it's not that they're throwing shade at these other guys. They just know how tough this dude is to beat in a given moment. I mean, think about it. In that series, I was there for 2 of those games, and it could have gone either way in that series. And then Aaron Gordon gets hurt, and we know what happened in Game 7. But they were on the brink of upsetting the OKC Thunder.
Well, and it's amazing because it shows you the thin margin where a Thunder team that was faced with a Game 7 at home. Imagine if you lose that game. We're probably not talking about them right now.
Off-season.
It changes the landscape here, but Oklahoma City wins, and now we're talking about Shea and what the next step is with that group.
But I actually think that will help the Thunder now because they've gone through the 16 and they've won. So now that was the year to get them. If you couldn't get them last year, now I think they're going to be more dominant moving forward. Now, Shams, we have something here on the All-Star format. What do you got?
So the USA versus World will be happening. It's 3 teams. It's a round-robin tournament, 2 U.S. teams, 1 world team. And essentially how this is going to go, I'm told, here are the details. 4 total games, 12 minutes per game, so a total of 48 minutes of action. So it's essentially 1 full game, NBA game regulation. So these 3 teams will face off against each other in 4 total games, 48 total games here in the 2026 All-Star Game, from my understanding.
All right, hopefully we get them to play hard, okay? That's all I want. Just go out there and look, we know the international team is going to play hard. So that means the USA team is going to have to